Hi, this is Jackie's Reading Room, and I'm your host, Jackie P. Have you turned some pages today? Are you a big fan of science fiction novels? Or maybe you really enjoy reading a good thriller or detective story, like me. But what if you'd like to diversify your reading? Sometimes, I guess it happens to me often. I want to try something different. I want to discover new authors. I want to um, try a genre that I'm not necessarily always attracted to, just to see what's out there. So today I'd like to suggest different tools that can help you diversify your reading. I've decided to focus on two of these because obviously there's a lot of ways that you can find to diversify your reading, but I've picked two that actually have really helped me do that. And these are the Canada Reads competition and the Indigo Reading Challenge. So let's hear it. Canada Reads. For those of you who live in Canada and are listening to this, you may quite likely have heard about this book battle that really, I guess, was initiated in 2001 when the producers of CBC um, they wanted to get a whole country to read together, and then they thought they should have an on-air debate, and it's been called the annual Battle of the Books. And they thought, let's get celebrities to champion the books, but not necessarily your celebrities that you see in the media all the time. But they went from a wide range of Canadian celebrities like athletes, musicians, humanitarians, and so on. I even saw an astronaut in there. Uh, the first battle aired as a radio show in 2002, and in 2010 there were live shows in the studio with an audience. And today you can actually watch and listen to the competition on CBC Radio, on CBC Television, or CBC TV, and also online at cbcbooks.ca. I'll put all of these um, links or this information in the information for the podcast. The first winner of the Canada Reads competition was Michael Ondaatje with his novel In the Skin of a Lion. And this was um, actually a few years after the book was published. And I read that um, the after the show, 70,000 copies of the book were sold. So it's almost like the book got a kind of a second life, right? So I think that's quite cool. The long list and the short list are determined by Canada Reads panelists and their passions. So just to give you a couple of ideas of past winners, so that you can be inspired, but you can find out all about the nominated books and the winners online. One of the books that is on my TBR pile, and it's been on it for a while, but you know what? There are a lot of books like that, is The Book of Negroes by Lawrence Hill. It's a historical fiction title that was published in 2009. And I believe if you check that Lawrence Hill is one of the few authors that had two of his books win the competition, the Canada Reads competition. Another title that won in 2015 is Rue by Kim Thuy. This was originally written in French. It was translated, and it's a very, very beautiful book. It's the story of a young woman who was forced to leave Saigon during the Vietnam War. And it's all the story of that, the immigration and learning to deal in a new to deal with life in a new country. And it's told in like little tiny vignettes. Every page or two has like a tiny story. Kim Thuy is a very, very talented writer. I really encourage you to read. If you read in French, go pick up the book in French, but the translations have been very popular as well. And another winner was We Have Always Been Here by Samra Habib. And the book was defended by actor Amanda Brugel, that you may have seen in The Handmaid's Tale, the series that was recently um, aired on one of the channels. I believe it was Hulu or HBO. We Have Always Been Here is a memoir, and it basically is all about the author's identity and her life as a refugee in Canada. So this is a fairly recent win. So you can see that right there. You have different genres, different types of authors, all Canadian, obviously, but that come from different backgrounds. So it makes for a very diverse reading. So that would be a great way to say, let me pick something here that I might not necessarily go to when I go to the library or the bookstore. All the nominated books, I believe, are worth looking into. As I was saying, there's a whole range there. The second tool I'd like to tell you about is the Indigo Reading Challenge. I discovered it in 2021, and I believe that's when it started. In 2021, they called it Find 21 New Ways to Read for 2021, and I completed it within the year. It was a whole lot of fun. So basically, the challenge was 21 categories um, of books to read, and you had on the website, and I'll put the link for you for the 2022 challenge. You had like even suggestions for each of the categories, so it's really pretty amazing. So an example of that was a book by a Black author. One of the books I read that fits in that category is Hunger, the memoir by Roxane Gay. I believe I may have mentioned this book before in one of my podcasts. Another category was a book by a local author, and I read this book by Mr. Pierre Caillouette about Laurent Duvernay-Tardy. For those of you who don't know who he is an NFL player from I guess, from the province of Quebec, and he is also a doctor. So a super interesting man, um, and he's really nice. I even had the pleasure of meeting him. In 2022, the challenge is called Discover 25 Ways to Refresh Your Book List. I think at any given time, we may be tempted to do that. It's very comforting, of course, to go back to the same genre. For example, I love a good thriller and detective story, but I also like to go to other types of books. I have picked up graphic novels at times, and it sort of takes you out of that kind of comfort zone, which is always nice. And then you can come back, right? So one of the categories of the 2022 challenge is a historical fiction novel. And one of my titles that I've read already is the novel Bluebird by Genevieve Graham. She is a Canadian writer. I really enjoyed that. It took place during Prohibition in Windsor, right, with the trade of, I guess, the illegal smuggling of alcohol to Detroit. And as a matter of fact, podcast number 10, which is coming up next week, will be about reading historical fiction. So stay tuned. Another category is a biography or memoir by someone who inspires you. I'm sure there are a lot of ideas that you can find right there, even in your head. But obviously, if you went on the website, you could find ideas. One of the memoirs I read so far in 2022 is Crossroads by Caleb Dahlgren. Very, very emotional, but beautiful story. Finally, I discovered recently a website called getunderlined.com. And if you click on that, and you'll see there's a tab on the top that says books and then reading lists. They have all kinds of reading lists. For example, I'll give you one: essential young adult graphic novels you'll love. So let's say you were trying to, I don't know, bond with a stepson or a niece, a grandchild, a young youth exchange student that you are hosting in your house. Who knows, right? Maybe you could suggest reading one of these books from that list together. I don't know. There's so many things you can do with books, right? Not just read them. You can discuss them, share about them, a bit like what I'm doing now with this podcast. So these are two very simple ways that I found that help me diversify my reading. But I also, I'm online often. I follow a lot of authors on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram. So they also post on their upcoming books, and they also like other authors' um, posts and books. So it gives me also other ideas. So hopefully, this is going to inspire you to pick up a book today and get reading. So hopefully, I'll see you very soon. If you enjoyed this, please share. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.